Hi, and welcome to vlog number 8. So this is the start of a new phase of training for me, which is quite nice. It's nice to have a bit of a change. Changing programs is not something that has really been a real concern of mine recently. I don't mind doing the same thing time in, time out, kind of squatting every day. It doesn't really bother me. But it has been nice to kind of try something different, try something new, and look at training from a different way. So the first phase was about reintroduction to training and just getting used to back squatting again and seeing where I was at. So this time, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, was about trying to move away from being that very specific form of training, still within the general form of training, and then looking at slight variations in how I'm doing things and applying some different exercises. So I thought I'd have a quick recap on progress to date, and look at what I'm going to be doing in this phase of training, some of the planning and program, and get into the planning of training side of things. So if I just kind of bring up our load velocity relationship that I've been using. So just to recap, I do one repetition at 60 kilograms, 80, 100, 120 and 130 kilograms, and use that to use a linear regression model to predict what my anticipated 1 hour would be. So we've got two lines on here at the minute. The blue line is the more recent test, which was done on the 26th of May, and then the orange line, I apologise, I'm colourblind if I've got that colour wrong, was done on the 12th. Now, what that initially looks like is the orange line is higher. That means for the same weights, I was moving weight much faster, which would be initially saying that I've gone backwards. I'm not moving the weight as fast, and that would suggest that I've gotten weaker as the training program has gotten on. What you can see though, as you get closer to the end of that linear regression model, down towards the bottom, is right at the very, very end, the blue line slightly overtakes it. Now you probably can't see it really, and it's down to a few small kilograms difference. But what that has basically said is down to this orange kind of oval here. Now, what happened was in the last test that I was able to do 120 kilograms and 130 kilograms at roughly the same velocity. I think it was like 0.33, 0.35, something like that, or 0.33, 0.31. So I saw very little decrement in velocity at the heavy loads. I wasn't really doing the 130 any slower than 120. Whereas in the first test, I saw quite a big decrement, so down from the mid 40s at 120 down to 130, 0.33 at 130. So that made the linear regression think that potentially at that 0.25 and this theoretical zero, that I probably could have gone up more in weight. Whereas that steep decline between 120 and 130 in the last test, the linear regression was predicting a more steep decline in load. So some subtleties in mathematics there, getting away from actually the pure strength gains that you might see by putting a load on the back. But basically the linear regression that I've used suggested that I had a 2 kilo increase at 0.25 meters per second. So we're not talking about a lot. I mean, if you get into the kind of error of testing, it might be the same. But it does show that I'm on the right track essentially. Now I will couple that with what I'm going to talk about next, which is how I kind of look at the overall program. Now my main goal is to get better at back squatting. That's the key thing really. But I don't live in isolation. I don't just live to squat, although it does sometimes feel like that. And the athletes I've coached in the past will probably say that's all I do. But I'm just trying to share with you another kind of perspective on how I might interpret a training program overall. So I've got three broad areas that I think about categorizing my exercises in. So I've got my primary lift, the thing that I'm most interested in. And if that is going well, the program is going well, and not everything else will fall into place after that. Then after that, I've got some secondary lifts and then some assistance exercises. And this is just me. There's no text reference I can give to this. I can't justify that by peer-reviewed articles. This is just how I think about a program, and in particular this program. So below the primary goal of back squatting, I've got clean shrug pulls, good morning, shoulder press and pull-ups. Now, my rationale for picking those exercises would be for the sake of clean shrug pulls and good mornings, they would have some general transferability to increase leg strength. And I think if you get better at those things, they will complement improving your back squatting strength. Shoulder press and pull-up would also be in the more general, holistic, getting stronger overall kind of category. So I think a lot of people would argue that an upper body pulling test, such as a pull-up test, is going to be a good measure of your general muscular function, and it's just a good thing to be able to kind of manipulate your body weight, pull yourself up over a bar. I don't think is a bad thing to think about as a way of measuring your own general overall muscular health. And also, I want to get better at weightlifting. So one of the key attributes of weightlifting is to chuck a bar above your head. So being able to press a bar above my head is again, complementary. It's not the be-all and end-all, and it doesn't necessarily make you better at jerking. But, if you can press overhead better, you can handle the weight overhead better, it's not going to hurt. The other stuff is the assistance exercise that I put in with it that I think will be complementary, that I'm not really that bothered about tracking. I think they're helpful. I think they'll be beneficial. I think they're, again, overall good for posture, overall good for developing overall general muscular health and hypertrophy. But if what I mean by that is if the weights don't go up, if I don't get stronger in those lifts, but I do in the others, that I'm okay with that. If they were going up and the other exercises weren't, then I'd be like, this program isn't working. Now the ticks in that would be things that I've improved as a consequence of this program. So my back squat has gotten stronger. I know I've tracked that over the period of weeks in different ways. The load velocity relationship, the velocity of the bars at different loads, and the fact that I'm squatting more for sets of 10 as the program's gotten on. And that's been applied to good morning, shoulder press, pull-ups is getting stronger. I haven't really monitored that. I can just do more reps. I couldn't do very many, now I can do more. That's great. And the exercise that isn't on there is bent over row. Now, the bent over row and clean shrug pulls haven't gotten better, which is frustrating, but it's not, again, the end of the world. My back squat's gone up, so yeah, box is ticked. Most of the exercises have gone up as well. That box has been ticked. So how do I then fold that forward? How do I kind of feed that forward into what comes next? So this is the plan for next program. So I've tried to increase my training volume and maintain the similar kinds of intensity. So still using a modified version of the DeLon Watkins. So I've got a squat and a press focus day, and a pull and a rowing kind of day. That says roll, it should say pull. And then for each of those days, a heavy day and a light day. And the heavy and light is determined by volume, not intensity. I try to maintain intensity and manipulate volume for changes in load. So going front squats, split squats, front press, and then maintain bridge pullovers and branded press ups because they were in the last program. And again, I think they were working well and don't really feel I need to change them. In the rowing day, I've gone for shrug pulls. They're still there because they haven't gotten better. So I think I need to invest more time in that one. Hopefully that will start to improve with a bit more exposure, because they're realistically doing those 1 day a week. So that might explain why they haven't developed as much. RDL, so just a change up from good morning, similar kind of hip hinging movement, just slightly different way of placing the load. Pendlay rows, again, they haven't really changed. So I'm keeping those in and increasing the volume of those. And then reverse flies and lat flies again for my kind of shoulder mobility, shoulder health type of training. So similar types of programs as the last phase. They haven't really changed a great deal. The format is really similar. So how does that look like from a training week? So what I've tried to do is use a bit of Charlie Francis high-low days, look at the organisation of the week and where I can fit in heavy days and low days. So the idea is to get at least 2 heavy squat days and 1 heavy pull day. Complement that with 2 lighter days of each type of training. So it's a 3-day squat program and a 2-day pull row program. So again, focusing intent on squatting days and then supplementing that with some lower or with some pulling days. So we've got a heavy squat day on the Monday, followed by 2 light days of a pull day and a squat day, and then a rest day. So it's kind of starts big at the weekend and taper down into the middle of the week. 2 heavy days back to back, so I'm expecting that to be a tough couple of days. But either side of that is a rest day. So then we don't have too many heavy days consecutively, just those 2, but there's a rest day either side of them. And there's pros and cons to it each whichever way. I could have put a heavy squat day after the light pulling day, but that's then a 2-1-2 rather than having a rest day in between. So there's pros and cons, and this isn't set in stone. Nobody's making me do this, so play around with it. If I think things could change, rest days can move around. Light days and heavy days can change around. We can look at different ways of manipulating that, but that's the initial plan. And then looking at how I want to focus on the program. So my primary lifts this time would be back squat, because that's still my goal, but front squat as well. So how does that work? Well, back squat's always going to be on there. It's never not going to be a primary lift, because that is what I'm trying to get better at. But in terms of specifically how I'm going to get better in this phase of training, it's going to be a front squat focused program. And every couple of weeks I'll retest on that load velocity relationship to see how that's transferring. Then I've got some secondary lifts, clean shrug pulls are in there, RDL, split squats, front press and pull-ups, and bent over row. Sorry, that was missing from that list there, my secondary lifts. And then I've got my usual assistance exercises in there as well. So it's a little bit longer than normal, but that's kind of my thoughts, my programming, and kind of a reflection of what has just been, how that's informed what has just come in. And hopefully it'll work. If not, I'll be doing it all over again. Thank you, and I'll see you all next time.